Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another video of Be the Best DFS Daily Fantasy Sports Talk. My name is Bradford Best, and today is Thursday, September 15, 2016. And I'm going to be going over my lineup strategy for tournaments and GPPs for NFL Week 2 on Fanduel and Draftkings for this upcoming week. Quick recap on Week 1. Week 1 was a losing week for me, but if you watch any of my videos, y'all know I count the wins as blessings and the losses teach lessons. And the lesson that I learned from Week 1, it's not a good idea to spend up and pay up for the running back position. The top price running backs, they performed horrible on Week 1. From Adrian Peterson, Devontae Freeman, Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley, Lamar Miller did okay. But basically, for the running back position in Week 1, it was better to go with value plays. And value plays probably would have helped me be more successful. I had Gurley, Freeman, and Elliott in all my lineups on DraftKings and FanDuel. I blew it with Russell Wilson. He did horrible. I mean, 2015, he had the highest QBR rating of all starting quarterbacks, but he had a bad Week 1. So, I lost out on that. Receivers, I did okay. Amari Cooper, Baldwin, Moncrief, they were my main guys. They did pretty good. Definitely wish I had Brandon Cooks. Tight end, I mean, there weren't any good tight ends. The best tight end was Doyle for the Indianapolis Colts. I don't really think anybody thought of him. I ended up putting Martellus Bennett in on my FanDuel lineup, and he didn't do anything. Team defense, I believe the best team defense was the Minnesota Vikings, and Seattle did pretty good also. Tennessee, that's who I like. They didn't do anything. I also had the Chiefs. They had a bad game, and that's about it. But Week 1, that's over with. Going to put it behind me. Week 2, I'm looking forward to it. And with that being said, I'm gonna get started with this slate for this week. Starting off to build my lineup. I like to do a quarterback wide receiver stack. And this might be a popular one, but I think it has the potential to put up some good numbers. Eli Manning and Odell Beckham Jr. Okay, basically, they're in a good matchup. The Saints, they're pretty bad against the pass. The Oakland Raiders, they played pretty well against them in Week 1. Amari Cooper had 137 receiving yards. So I think Odell Beckham Jr. and Eli Manning, they're in a great spot. Last year, the game between the Saints and the Giants, which was in New Orleans, it was a high-scoring game. I know each team put up 40-plus points. Eli Manning and Drew Brees had great games, a lot of passing yards in that game. I wish the game was in New Orleans because, you wouldn't have to worry about any weather conditions. But the game is in New York, so I'm definitely going to have to research what the weather is going to be on Sunday. But, barring any, very bad weather, I believe the Giants are in a good spot to put up a lot of good numbers in the passing game. Now, Odell Beckham Jr., he's a great player. He had a subpar Week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys, so I'm expecting him to come out to want to have a big game. Now, picking Eli Manning, it scares me because sometimes Eli Manning is great. He's really good. And then at other times, he's horrible. So it's like, are you going to get the good Eli or the bad Eli? Week 1, he passed for 3 touchdowns, so that was good. He did throw one crazy interception that I saw when I was watching the game. So that kind of concerns me. But overall, the New Orleans Saints defense, their secondary, Odell Beckham Jr. Being one of the top wide receivers in the league, I like this as a stack to start off my lineup for this week on FanDuel. Eli Manning's 8,100. Odell Beckham Jr. very high price tag of 9,400. Other than Eli Manning and Odell Beckham Jr., also I think the other Giants wide receivers are in play. Victor Cruz and I think their rookie Shepard. I just believe that all the Giants wide receivers are in good spots, but I'm definitely going to go with Odell Beckham Jr. because he's the number 1 receiver for the Giants. Other wide receivers that I like for Week 1. I like Emmanuel Sanders a lot. I think he's a great sneaky play for the Denver Broncos. 6,700 on Fanduel. Demaryius Thomas, the other receiver for the Broncos, he's been kind of banged up, this week. He's dealing with a hip injury. The Indianapolis Colts, their opponent, their secondary and their defense is kind of weak. Matthew Stafford for the Detroit Lions in Week 1, he carved up the Indianapolis Colts secondary. They have a lot of injuries. They're traveling into the thin air on the road. So I like Emmanuel Sanders as a sneaky player, wide receiver, especially if Demaryius Thomas sits out or if he's limited. And at a decent price of 6,700, I think he's a great play. It is a rookie quarterback, but he is at home. And in my opinion, Emmanuel Sanders is a very dynamic receiver with a lot of good speed and a good route runner. So Emmanuel Sanders, he's another wide receiver that I like. Other wide receivers for week 2, definitely Antonio Brown. He showed why he's one of the top wide receivers on Monday night. So definitely we consider him if you can afford him. Brandon Cooks had a great game Week 1. Drew Brees had a great game Week 1. But Drew Brees, he plays just on another level when he's at home in New Orleans in the Superdome. I'm not sure if that same success translates on the road. But, based off what they did Week 1 and based off how the game between the Giants and the Saints was on last season, Cooks could definitely be in play. I hate to say this, but my Falcons, we played horribly on defense in Week 1 against Jameis Winston. So definitely I can understand why you would consider the Oakland Raiders and Amari Cooper. Especially Amari Cooper had 130 plus receiving yards Week 1. Going up against the Falcons at home, he's definitely in play. I'm not sure about Dez Bryant. I don't know if him and Dak Prescott has got that chemistry yet. Dez Bryant only had 1 catch for 8 yards, I believe, in Week 1. So I don't know about him. I like Calvin Benjamin. Had a touchdown, 90 plus receiving yards in Week 1. They had some extra days of rest because they played on Thursday. So I like Calvin Benjamin. Kind of just going through the player pool. I like Deshaun Jackson, 100 receiving yards on Monday Night Football. And he got a lot of targets. I'm going to look at his game log real quick. He had 10 targets on Week 1. So, the targets are important when you're a wide receiver. And being that he had 100 receiving yards Week 1, I definitely like Deshaun Jackson at wide receiver. Some other receivers I want to mention. With Keenan Allen being out, that increases the value for a lot of San Diego Chargers players. So I'm not sure which one's going to go off, but Inman, Travis Benjamin, and it's another guy, Tyrell Williams, Woodhead, Gates. Everybody on the Chargers, their value increases as far as getting catches and receiving yards with Keenan Allen being out for the rest of the season. And I think that's about it at wide receiver. Other quarterback wide receiver stacks that I want to talk about, Big Ben and Antonio Brown. I think that's good. They showed that they're a very strong combination on Monday Night Football. I think Brown may have had 1 or 2 touchdowns, but he had 100 plus yards receiving. So that combination, that's good. Cam Newton and Greg Olsen. I like that stack this week. Or Cam Newton and Kelvin Benjamin. The main thing, the Panthers, they lost their first game. They're coming back home. I know they're going to be motivated to get back to 500 and be 1-1. Cam Newton, he's the MVP from last year. So I definitely feel that he's poised to have a good game. He has a high price tag of $9,000, but I feel that he's poised to have a strong performance. And personally, I like stacking him up with Greg Olsen rather than a wide receiver because Greg Olsen is his favorite target. Week 1, Greg Olsen had 7 catches for 75 yards. So I imagine he probably had like 8 or 9 targets. So I think that's a very good option. So again, my favorite quarterback wide receiver stack is be Eli Manning and Odell Beckham Jr. I definitely think Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown are in play. And sorry, they're doing some yard work out there. But and Cam Newton and Greg Olsen, they're in play also. Andrew Luck, he had a good week 1, but I respect the Denver Broncos defense. So Andrew Luck is going to be someone that I think is a good fade for this week. Russell Wilson, he disappointed me so bad week 1. I'm not even considering playing him. Although they're playing against a sorry team in the Los Angeles Rams, I'm not messing with Russell Wilson because what he did for week 1, it just disappointed me. So he may have a good game, because their opponent is inferior, but I'm not messing with him. I mentioned Drew Brees. He had a great week 1, but I just think he doesn't perform as well on the road. I could be wrong, but in my opinion, Drew Brees is better when he's playing at home and also when he's playing in like a domed stadium where the weather is no concern. Aaron Rodgers, I'm not sure about him, to be honest. He could have a good game because it seems like he always plays well against the Vikings, but I'm just not sure about him. It's on the road, and he did okay against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but honestly, I'm not sure about Aaron Rodgers. I like Carson Palmer as a sneaky play. They're playing at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Matt Ryan, he threw all over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I believe Matt Ryan had 2 touchdowns and passed for over 330 yards. Carson Palmer is a quarterback that likes to throw the ball, so I definitely think Carson Palmer can be a great sneaky play at the quarterback position. And kind of just looking through the rest of the quarterbacks. Now, this is one that I'm going to mention on the video, but a lot of y'all might think this is kind of a crazy move. I'm going to make 2 lineups for this upcoming week. One's going to have the Eli Manning and Odell Beckham Jr. stack, but my other lineup is going to have like a very sneaky stack. And that's Trevor Siemian for the Denver Broncos and Emmanuel Sanders. I know a lot of people not going to be on Siemian, and I just think it's a good move. I don't believe in the Indianapolis Colts. I don't believe in their secondary, and I just think that it's a good sneaky play, mainly with the salary pricing as well. Let me find him real quick. He's $6,400. So, getting Siemian at a value price of $6,400 on Fanduel, it just opens up, the flexibility for me to do a lot of other things at other positions. So in my second lineup with Trevor Siemian, I was able to put Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham Jr. in my lineup. So that's going to be my second lineup I have. But for this main one, definitely like Eli and Odell Beckham Jr. But definitely, if you're able to make multiple lineups, consider Trevor Siemian. Just look at what Matthew Stafford was able to do against the Indianapolis Colts. He threw all over them. So, yeah, Trevor Siemian is a rookie, but that Thursday night game, week 1 against the Panthers, he showed some good composure against a good defense in the Panthers. He did decent for his first game, prime time, nationally televised. So I think in his second game at home against a weak defense, I love Trevor Siemian for the Denver Broncos as a sneaky play. And with him paired up with Emmanuel Sanders as a quarterback wide receiver combo for tournaments and GPPs. Not for cash games, but definitely for tournaments and GPPs. I'm going to go on to the next position. I talked about quarterbacks and receivers. I want to talk about running backs real quick. Like I said, week 1, I learned my lesson about paying top price for running backs, and I'm not going to do that this week. I'm not going to spend up. I'm spending up at quarterback and wide receivers and elsewhere. So for running backs, the top ones that I see as value plays, Theo Riddick for the Detroit Lions. He had a great week one. He may be kind of chalky this week, but at 5,900, he's at a value price. I kind of watched that game week one on Red Zone, and he played with like a good intensity and some fire. If you look at his stats, he had seven rushing attempts for 45 yards. That's over 6 yards per carry. He was targeted five times in the passing game. He caught all five passes for 63 yards. He had 1 rushing touchdown and 1 receiving touchdown. I know he's going to be popular, but he's still at a value price, and I really like him for week one at the running back position. You know, again, I'm not paying up for running back. Another running back that I think is interesting for week one is TJ Yeldon for 6,500. Chris Ivory, they say he was in the hospital. He's been battling some kind of illness or injury. And then you look at the opponent, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're playing against the San Diego Chargers. And week one, the Chargers played against the Chiefs. And Spencer Ware had 199 total yards combined rushing and passing. So based off of week one, it seems like the Chargers struggle to defend the running back position. And if Chris Ivory is out for week two, you know, the load is going to fall on TJ Yeldon's shoulders. And if they can't defend the running back position, I definitely like TJ Yeldon as another option at running back for 6,500. Not top price, but a mid-range salary. Kind of going to go through some other running backs. Let's see. Again, the top ones, there's no way I can afford David Johnson for the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm sorry, not Diamondbacks, but the Arizona Cardinals. But he could have a good game because he's looking like one of the best running backs in the league. You know, only in his second year, but a price tag of $9,000, that's a lot. I think D'Angelo Williams is in another good spot. He's 33 years old, but Monday night he proves that he still got it. 7,600 is kind of high, but you know, I like D'Angelo Williams. Kind of going through. I think Isaiah Crowell for 5,800 of the Cleveland Browns is a good value play. Maybe they have to lean more on their running game with RG3 being out. I'm not sure, but Crowell at a value price of 5,800, I think he's in play. He's the #1 running back. As a Falcons fan, I want to mention this player, Tevin Coleman for 6,100. I think he's a good value player running back. I can't stand Mike Shanahan, our offensive coordinator, but it seems like he's trying to, you know, put Tevin Coleman in the offense more instead of Devontae Freeman. You know, I know Coleman is someone that he was a part of drafting. Devontae Freeman was there before Shanahan got there. And based off how week one went against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it seems like Mike Shanahan is trying to force the issue to make Tevin Coleman, the lead back. So in that case, Devontae Freeman, I don't know if he's going to be a good play for week two. But Tevin Coleman at 6,100, he could definitely be a good value play. I'm not messing with Ezekiel Elliott after how he performed week one. So, you know, again, I'm not spending enough for running backs, so I'm looking at the value plays. Definitely the 2 running backs for the Giants. Jennings at 6,300, and I think Shane Vereen is at 5,100, I believe, on Fanduel. So both of those players, because I expect there to be a lot of offense in the Giants and Saints game. So consider both of them. And this is a sneaky play I want to talk about. Alfred Morris for the Dallas Cowboys for 5,300. The main reason I'm considering Alfred Morris is because, you know, he going back and playing his former team, the Redskins, the team he played for his first 3 or 4 years. So it's a little game narrative. I think he may be motivated to try to get a touchdown on him. And if you look at, you know, week one, you know, they only gave Morris the ball seven times. He got 7 rushes. But in those 7 rushes, he had 35 yards, 5 yards per carry. He was way more productive and more prolific than Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott, he's the man, he's the future and all that stuff, but he didn't produce in week 1. In the limited carries that Alfred Morris got, he rushed for 5 yards, 35 yards on 7 carries. Playing against his former team, you know, if they get down to the goal line, they might bring Alfred Morris in so he can get a touchdown against his old team. So as a sneaky and value play for tournaments and GPPs, I think Alfred Morris is someone that you might consider at the running back position. Now, for tight end, for Fanduel, there's only one tight end that I like as far as a tight end with high upside, and that's Greg Olsen. I mentioned him earlier. Definitely, if you play Cam Newton, I think you should also consider stacking him with Greg Olsen. 7,600 high price tag, but I think he's worth it. I'm going to look at his game log real quick. He had 9 targets in week 1. 9 targets, that's a lot for a tight end. 7 receptions, 73 yards. A big target, so they get in the red zone. He's one of the players that Cam Newton might look for. So Greg Olsen is by far my favorite tight end for week 2. You know, week 1 with tight end, the guy who had the most points was Jack Doyle. I never heard of that guy for the Indianapolis Colts. Tight end was just kind of a down position week 1. With Gronkowski being out, you know, there's not too many to choose from. So with that being said, I definitely, again, I like Greg Olsen. Maybe Jake Reed, you know. In week 1, Dallas allowed a touchdown to the Giants tight end, Larry Donnell. So maybe Jake Reed could get a touchdown also. But for me, Greg Olsen. I love Greg Olsen this week. He's pretty much a lock for me at tight end. Now, I want to mention one value play at the tight end position for week 2. This may be kind of a hometown pick, but Jacob Tamme for the Atlanta Falcons. I know some of y'all watching this video may not even know Jacob Tamme, but let me give you my reasons for why I like Jacob Tamme at tight end this week as a sleeper play and as a sneaky value play. For one, Julio Jones is kind of banged up with an ankle injury. Also, Mohamed Sanu, our number 2 wide receiver, he's kind of banged up at the wide receiver position also. So with both of those receivers being banged up and, you know, being on the road in a noisy environment in the black hole in Oakland, Matt Ryan, he's going to have to, you know, get rid of the ball quickly. And Jacob Tamme, I think he's probably the 3rd option as far as in the passing game. After Julio Jones and Sanu, I think Jacob Tamme is the 3rd option. I think he had like 75 catches overall on last year. I'm going to find him and look at his game log for week 1 real quick. But, you know, his price is $5,100. Let's see. And in week 1, he had 8 targets, 6 receptions for 51 yards, 8 targets. So if those 2 wide receivers are banged up and, you know, our running game looked kind of weak, you know, he's going to have to find offense from somewhere. And, you know, I think Jacob Tamme could be a very, very sneaky play, you know, at the tight end position. So that's my take on that. Excuse me. And lastly, very quickly, I want to talk about the team defense. Now, if y'all disagree with me, please comment on the video. Now, team defense, I don't see it. I think Seattle is the best team defense for week 2. I don't see any way how they can, like, you know, be a bad play. Now, you watch Monday Night Football and the Los Angeles Rams. They got shut out 28-0 by the San Francisco 49ers. They were on ESPN saying that the Rams look like a high school football team. And the Seattle Seahawks, they had 5 sacks on week 1 against the Miami Dolphins. Had a great game on week. Let me look at it real quick. They had 5 sacks, only allowed 10 points. So if they could do that against the Dolphins, and then you look at Monday Night Football, how the Rams perform, and it's a short week for them, I see no reason why the Seattle Seahawks could be a bad play for team defense and special teams for week 2. on Fanduel or DraftKings. So to me, it's a pretty simple play. Seattle Seahawks, the top defense, defense and special teams for week 2 for daily fantasy. If they go out there and have 0 or negative points, I just don't know what to say. Now, other than them, other than the Seahawks, I like the New England Patriots. New England Patriots as my second favorite team defense. Why? Their opponent, the Miami Dolphins. Seattle, they put up 11 fantasy points on Fanduel on them, had 5 sacks. The game is in New England, a tough environment to play in. If Tannehill got sacked 5 times, maybe the same thing happened against the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick, he's known to be a defensive specialist. That's what he's supposed to specialize in. And, you know, all those factors, I think New England, they're also a good play for team defense. A sneaky play, I think the Detroit Lions going up against the Tennessee Titans. Minnesota, they had the best points as far as team defenses week 1 going up against Tennessee. So maybe Detroit can do the same thing. So I like Detroit as a sneaky play. But again, Seattle Seahawks, I see no reason why they shouldn't have a strong performance defensively. They are on the road, but you know, they're just my favorite play for team defenses. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. And for FanDuel, kicker, I like Gostkowski for the New England Patriots. Week 1, he had 14 fantasy points, 3 for 3. He's one of the best kickers in the league, so I definitely like Gostkowski. Another kicker I like is Matt Prater for the Detroit Lions. You know, he didn't have that many fantasy points week 1 because the Lions scored a lot of touchdowns, but he kicked the game-winning field goal like 40-something yards in a clutch situation. The game is at Ford Field, so you won't have to worry about the weather because they have a roof. I think it's a dome, so I like Prater at kicker. So again, that's basically how I have my FanDuel lineup for now. I'm basing it around Eli Manning and Odell Beckham Jr. I really love that stack. I like Emmanuel Sanders. I like Deshaun Jackson. I kind of went down on running back, and I love Greg Olsen at the tight end. And I think Seattle's defense is just the logical play. I'm going to try to make 2 lineups this week. So in my other lineup, I'm going to be real bold and risky. I'm going with Trevor Siemian and Emmanuel Sanders as a stack and building my lineup around those 2 players right there. To close out the video, I just want to go over some value and sneaky plays at each position. For FanDuel, Eli Rogers of the Pittsburgh Steelers for $5,500 at wide receiver. Devontae Adams for $5,700 for the Green Bay Packers. Shepard for the New York Giants for $6,200 going up against the Saints defense. I like all the Giants receivers. And Cole Beasley for $5,000. I really like him as a value play. I think he's $3,200 on DraftKings. But Cole Beasley, he had 12 targets week 1. So definitely consider him. If you need to save and get a value play, Cole Beasley, he's a little slot receiver. Dak Prescott, he doesn't seem like he's good at throwing deep downfield. So he's going to do those quick passes. And Cole Beasley, 12 targets. Let me look at his stuff. Well, y'all know the game. I'm going to look at his stats specifically real quick, so I don't just be talking. Let's see. Beasley, week 1. 12 targets, 8 receptions for 65 yards. 10.5 fantasy points on FanDuel. I mean, if he had a touchdown, he would have had a great game. So definitely Cole Beasley. Those are my value plays and sneaky plays for wide receiver. For the running back, I already mentioned Riddick. I mentioned Yeldon. I mentioned Crowell. Alfred Morris, I mentioned him. So let me go to the quarterback position. Sneaky play, I think Matt Ryan could be a sneaky play. 330 passing yards in week 1. Although it was at home at the Georgia Dome, the Raiders, they let Drew Brees pass for a lot of yards. Drew Brees passed for like 400 yards, I believe. So although the game is on the road, their defense did give up a lot of passing yards. So Matt Ryan for 7,900 could be a sneaky play. Carson Palmer, I already mentioned him. He could be a sneaky play. And Trevor Siemian. And I already talked about Jacob Tamme. And on DraftKings, the pricing is just so different. But I'm going to just go over my value plays. For wide receiver, Mike Wallace for 4,700. Eli Rogers for 4,100. Victor Cruz, another Giants receiver, for 4,300. Shepard again, 5,200. Both of the San Diego receivers, Benjamin and Tyrell Williams. Benjamin 4,400 and Williams 3,700. Keenan Allen's out, so it opens up opportunities for other players. They could be great value plays. And again, Cole Beasley on DraftKings 3,200. And let's see, at the running back position, Yeldon 4,700. Crowell 4,400. And Alfred Morris 3,600. I talked about him earlier. And for quarterbacks, I like Blake Bortles for 6,700. There are some reasons I like Blake Bortles. Mainly because of why did I like Blake Bortles? I guess it's just because of his price. The main thing, mainly because of his price. But Bortles, Siemian, and Palmer. And then at tight end, to close this out, DraftKings value plays, Jacob Tamme, 2,900, great play. Greg Olsen, 5,600, definitely like him. And Antonio Gates for 4,500. I think he's a great value play. That Keenan Allen injury is going to open up a lot of things for different players on the Chargers. I'm just not exactly sure who. So definitely look at the Chargers when you're making your lineups, whether it's Danny Woodhead, Antonio Gates, Travis Benjamin, Tyrell Williams, Inman. A lot of value plays could open up for the San Diego Chargers. But again, that's going to be it for my lineup strategy for tournaments and GPPs for week 2 on the NFL. Again, week 1 was a disappointment. Russell Wilson let me down, and I blew it at running back. But, I count the wins as blessings, and the losses teach lessons. So, I learned some lessons from week 1, and hopefully whatever I learn, put it in my lineups for week 2, and hopefully there can be some success. So, that's all I have. I'm not even going to go over the Thursday night game. Don't really see too much that's appealing to me. But definitely looking forward to Sunday. Going to try to, tweak my lineup a little bit, make some adjustments, and hopefully it can be successful. If y'all have any comments or recommendations or suggestions or good plays that y'all may like, definitely comment on this video and post them in the Facebook group. I'm looking for help myself to try to get better. But again, that's the end of the video. I want to thank everyone who's taking the time out to view this video. Thank you to everyone who's subscribed to the YouTube channel. Thanks to everyone who's joined on Facebook, following on Twitter, and also following on Instagram. Just search hashtag #BeTheBestDFS on all social media outlets, and you can find me. And definitely going to keep working at this, and hopefully I can hit big, and we can all hit for some money and hit big this week or week 2 of NFL football. So that's about it. I'm gonna just go work on some things, and hopefully it's a good week. I've been talking too much, but like always, try to be the best tonight if you're playing on MLB, and try to be the best this weekend when you play that NFL football this Sunday. All right, have a good one, everyone. I'm out.